2 actually. It's 9:58.
Morning, hello. Welcome everyone. Here we are, the community of Southminster Steinhauer United Church. We're Spiritual Seekers United in Community, and welcome to all of those of you who are joining us, some of you for the first time, some of you for the first time in a while, some of you by live stream from wherever you happen to be, and those of you who are part of this circle regularly. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We know that this is a place of spiritual exploration. And so we're invited into a time where we can open ourselves to compassion and wisdom, also into affirmation where we can know that we're each important and valued. A place where we can strive to live more deeply and make a difference in the world, not just alone, but with each other. This morning we use as inspiration the teaching of humility, one of the 7 sacred teachings expressed by many First Nations all across Turtle Island. And so we look to enter into our time and learn from each other. Learn in community the wisdom of humility. SSUC, of course, is a place where we work hard to make a safer space for everyone. So no matter who we are, we're welcome here. All sizes, all ages, all colors, all cultures, all abilities, all genders, all sexualities, all thinking styles and neurotypes, all religions, or none, all people. May we find here today a welcome, a safe place to be ourselves, and enter into whatever time, whatever space we need this morning to be in community, to ponder, to be exuberant, and to be ourselves. So welcome.
Good morning. Good morning. My name is Sheila Parsons. I'm your companion today. And as is our custom, the first thing we do is light our candle, the symbol of our light together that we share, as well as the light of love that is within us. And also, as our custom, we acknowledge the land that we are on, and our treaty obligations. SSUC is on Treaty 6 territory, and it's home of the indigenous peoples, including the Niuak, which is Cree, the Tsuut'ina, the Niitsitapi, Blackfoot, the Otipemisiwak, Métis, Nakota Sioux, the Dene, and the Anishinaabe. And if I've mispronounced any of those, I apologize. Our land acknowledgement is important. We recognize with it the traditional territories of our indigenous peoples, and it serves us to remind of the history of colonization, the ongoing relationship between the indigenous people and ourselves as we had signed the treaty, and also our relationship to the land. This is at least one step towards reconciliation and respect for the rights of all peoples and the right of our land.
I am stepping to the carpet, which means it's time for all ages, which I invite anyone who would like to come forward to the carpet. And the weather's nice. Maybe there's not as many small ones here this morning. And if that's the case, that's just fine. I'm going to read from here. Because as you know, this is the time for all ages. So there's something for each of us. I'm sharing a story this morning called The Legend of the Beaver's Tail, which is, well, I'll tell you a little bit more about this story in a little bit, but here is The Legend of the Beaver's Tail as told by Stephanie Shaw and illustrated by Huysbert van Frankenhuizen. And yes, I practiced. Long ago, Beaver did not look like he does now. Yes, he was a chubby fellow, and yes, he had 2 very large front teeth, but his tail was not wide and flat. Beaver's tail was thick and silky fur. "Look at my glorious tail," Beaver said to Bird. "I bet you wish that you had one like this." Bird said, "Beaver, it is a fine tail, but truly all I wish for is a cozy nest for my family." Beaver ignored Bird. He fluffed and plumped his tail as Bird flew off to hunt for twigs and leaves. Long ago, Beaver did not look like he does now. Oops, I read that already. "This tail is the tail to end all tails," Beaver said to Deer. "I'll bet you wish you had one like this." Deer said, "Beaver, it is a fine tail, but truly all I wish for is some tender grass for my family to eat." "I'm just saying," said Beaver to Fish, "this tail of mine is absolutely the most magnificent tail a creature could have. I'll bet you wish you had one like this." Fish leapt from the water and said, "Beaver, it's a fine tail, but truly all I wish for is calm and warm water to rest in." Beaver ignored Fish, and Fish struggled on through the icy water as Beaver looked at his own reflection. He turned round and round, trying to catch a glimpse of his glorious tail. "Humph," said Beaver, "how rude. I think my friends are jealous of this beautiful tail of mine." He waddled off to gnaw on a log. Autumn turned to shivery winter. Beaver lumbered through the woods and then began to have a good chew on the trunk of a large tree. Every now and then he would stop and run in circles around the trunk. In this way, he could chase his tail and give it yet another admiring look. Chew, chase, look. Chew, chase, look. Beaver was so caught up in this game that he did not notice the tree cracking and teetering back and forth as he chipped away at its base. Crash, smash. Beaver's fluffy, beautiful, glorious tail was trapped beneath the massive fallen tree. Beaver tugged and pulled, and when he finally got his tail out, it was no longer fluffy, beautiful, or glorious. "Oh, my tail," moaned Beaver. And he sat and cried himself into a huge puddle of salty tears, but no one heard his cries or came to comfort him. And it was when Beaver stopped crying for the loss of his glorious tail that he started crying harder and longer for the loss of his friends. As time passed, Beaver kept very busy to take his mind off his loneliness. He carefully felled some trees. Tender grass grew. Where he dragged the branches to the water, tiny leaves and twigs littered the forest floor. And where he built a dam, the water slowed and became warm. In the spring, the animals returned. They watched Beaver perfectly balance on his new tail as he chewed the tree bark. When he swam to the shore to greet them, his tail was a rudder guiding him straight and true. And when he wanted to make an announcement, he slapped the water, making a loud sound. I am ashamed that I only talked about myself, said Beaver. Your friendship is important to me. Please stay. Beaver, said Deer, you've made the grass plentiful for my family. You're a good friend. Of course we'll stay. And my family can nest with the twigs and leaves you've scattered, said Bird. The dam you built slowed the water and made a pool, said Fish. I can rest and be warm. Thank you, Beaver. And the new tail of yours is amazing, said his friends. We wish we had tails like that. Thank you, said Beaver. He looked back at his tail. It was wide and flat and furless, and it really was quite glorious. We hear this story. It's a tale of the Ojibwe, Saulteaux, and Anishinaabe cultures tell to their people, one generation to the next. Sometimes the legends that First Nations tell are for fun, and other times they're used to teach lessons about good ways to live. So Stephanie Shaw, in retelling this ancient story, is told so that we can learn about being humble instead of boasting and thinking we're the best. It reminds us how having friends and living well is more important than thinking we're better than others. So thank you to the storyteller. Thank you to the traditions of the Ojibwe, Saulteaux, and Anishinaabe people. And thank you to the beaver, a keystone species in our climate. Our Kid Spirit program is running full and strong this morning. Daisy and Ariane are there, regardless of how many kids there are. It will be happening in the small hall. Wes is ready for the youth space youth, but before the youth take off, Wes is going to speak to us really quick about one thing, one really important thing in Wes's life. Thank you, Wes.
Good morning, everybody. It's very encouraging to hear good morning back. Good morning, everybody. I sure can. All right. I was a young adult when I received a diagnosis of borderline personality disorder. I struggled to reconcile my experiences with my mind, with my attachments, and with my relationships. I struggled to regulate my emotions and even sometimes my actions. As someone in the social work field, I pressed on, helping others in an effort to help myself. In 2021, I was diagnosed with clinical burnout, and I came face to face with all my demons all at once. It took 2 years from then to sift through the mess and the darkness that I held both inside and out. In the summer of 2023, I was enrolled in a day program at Alberta Hospital Edmonton. The program, called Day Hospital, outfitted me with professionals, groups, and tools. From there, I began working with a research psychiatrist on a branch of EMDR therapy called Early Trauma Protocol. 18 months of this therapy, usually weekly, helped me in my journey toward healing. During those 18 months, the borderline traits began falling away one by one. Toward the end of our time together, I no longer had a diagnosis of borderline. My BPD has gone into full remission. Recently, though, someone I love very dearly was diagnosed with borderline personality disorder. Seeing their struggles, I have felt encouraged to share my journey with them and with the world. Turns out BPD is not a hopeless diagnosis, as many would think. It is remissible. It was through my loved one attending the same program that I did, Day Hospital, that I found out about an organization called Sash Bear. Sash Bear is an organization that raises awareness for the struggles of borderline personality disorder, as well as other emotion regulation struggles. This year, I am participating in the Sash Bear Walk. I have created a team that you're all welcome to join. There is a poster out in the lobby, just on one of the tables. My goal is $777. that goal. It's my favorite number, so why not? It's happening at the end of this month on May 30th. It's starting at 7:30 p.m. and the walk will actually end on the high-level bridge, where it will then be lit up with the Borderline Awareness colors. And so if you're interested, I will be kicking around after the service as well. If you want to get involved, if you want to donate, this is a cause very dear to my heart. Also, mental health in general is very dear to my heart. So if you ever want to chat, I'm here. Thank you. Thanks, Chris.
He turned it off. Thank you, Wes. We have some other announcements here as well that I'm to highlight for you. And then we'll hear from Margaret. Okay. First of all, our Thrifty Treasures Market, AKA garage sale, is coming up this Saturday, May 24th from 9 to 3. And the lineup sometimes starts at 8. And a big thank you for all of those who have signed up to help. I've got a number of names. If you inadvertently forgot to sign up, there's probably still some, things for you to do. And many hands makes it very helpful. So please consider it, but also come and buy all the stuff that you probably dropped off during the week. And speaking of that, the drop-off starts on Tuesday. I had a different note here as to the time, but I think you're safe if you come 10 o'clock. I think it says 9 o'clock in the messenger, did it? No, it does say 10 there. Anyway, it's 10 o'clock, and as it says there, to 4, my note said 10 o'clock and then to 3 o'clock on Friday, but I guarantee there's nobody going to be here at 3 a.m. in the morning to take your stuff. So it is each day, 10 o'clock, 4 o'clock, and then Thursday, 2 o'clock to 8 o'clock. And please bring your own bags. And Jean, that doesn't mean me. Thank you. There are posters. If you have a community center or a place where you think a poster could go up, they will be available in the back. The other thing is they would really like, and if you are able, to make some, I think what they want is finger food for the volunteers on Saturday for their lunch. So if you're able, you can sign up in the foyer for that, and that would be really helpful. And now another highlight is for the gang fashion. That's not anything to do with the Hells Angels. This is the gang, the grandmothers, and they're doing a presentation on the 31st for climate action. And that is primarily, as I understand it, because a lot of the women in different parts of the world have really been concerned about how climate change is affecting them, including in Africa, of course. And as many of you know, the gang has primarily raised funds for the AIDS treatment and epidemic that still exists in many parts of many countries in Africa. So you're invited to come on the 31st, and I believe it's 2 to 4. Is Joyce around? It's 1 to 3. I couldn't find the times, and somebody said 2 to 4, but 1 to 3. So get that right, 1 to 3. And they're going to, the gang from Calgary has some fashions that are all to help you understand the different concerns around climate change. So I think it'll be a very interesting afternoon. They also will have groups that are in Edmonton here that are working on the climate action. The SCAN group, SCAN Edmonton, and the Reuse group, and the Blenderids. I'm not even sure what they do, but it would be great to come and find out. And the cost is $20, and I believe there is a link online. Where else, Joyce, can they get the tickets, or just at the door? I think there's a QR code. If you're not so, you know, ARC-y like me, I came out of the ARC and I never can use QR codes. But I think there's a QR code to pay for it. Okay. Poster on the bulletin board at the back to get more information. All right, I think those are the highlights that I have, and then we want to hear from Margaret.
Sheila or me? Today is a very special gathering right after this gathering to look at Earth Charter possibilities in our future. We've been very active, and it's time for motivation and re-emerging. If you're interested, please stop in. Dara has that all planned for this afternoon. Where is it going to happen, Chris? Small hall or? Small hall, okay. So I'm Margaret Hetherington from, I was just going to say from us, because I'm from the anniversary committee, but we're all up here on behalf of all of us. So 3 weeks from today, we will mark on June 8th the special anniversary of 100th anniversary of the United Church of Canada. And plans are coming together very well, and we hope you will be able to attend. We'll begin at 10 with our very special spiritual gathering, and within it we will be honoring those who are 85 years of age and older. So everyone born in 1940 or earlier. I know some of us didn't quite make the cut. Oh boy, but we're gathering these names, and I really want you to check out that yours is included. So will you meet me in the foyer afterwards? Of course, you will need your ID. Okay. We're also cherishing our children and youth that morning of June 8th in very special ways at the gathering. Now, plans are underway for planting trees, one by our youth space group. They'll lead us in that on the Sunday morning, and another Monday evening to mark the inaugural year of evergreens. And you know, of course, what will be planted that evening. Well, back to the Sunday. By this time in the morning, we'll be ready to sit around for lovely anniversary cake, ice cream, fruit, and very memorable, once-in-a-lifetime conversation. These 100 anniversaries don't come around very often, do they? Now, we're sorry that the potluck luncheon will only happen November 16th at our celebration part 2. It turned out that there's a rental that afternoon, which is always a good thing. And it started earlier than realized. So the very kind renters and we juggled our times a bit, and we decided that we didn't want to be rushed with a larger meal. So we chose to have lots of visiting time around tables with a lovely anniversary dessert. Now, very importantly, you'll remember that we've discussed earlier this year that we wanted to mark this anniversary over the year with a global outreach project, with a local project, and a social justice-seeking action project. So I know you've heard on the news this past week, and as we were sitting around Wednesday evening at our meeting, we made a choice, because in response to 500,000 Palestinian people, many of them adults, many of them children, many of them facing possible starvation, and another million with barely enough food to eat. We invite all who are able to give a special gift on June the 8th. We will send our assistance through the United Churches Emergency Relief Fund to provide aid for Palestinian people facing famine and continuing inhumane conditions. There will be special envelopes starting next Sunday for all ages to participate as we can. We're thinking that our children and youth will also want to be part of this helping project. And those of you who have volunteered to help way back in April, further than the committee work, we'll be contacting you this very week to see what works in your life to take up some of the pieces of action now. It's going to be a wonderful occasion. I hope you have June 8th circled. Thank you.
And now we have our reading that comes from the book of Matthew, or it's 23, 1 to 8, 11 to 12. It is from the New Revised Standard Version, and it's also been revised slightly for interpretation. And those of you, this is written in the first century by Matthew after the disciples have experienced Jesus' death. And if you think humility has anything to do with meekness, you will hear differently. So let us listen to Matthew's words. Jesus said to the crowds and to his disciples, the religion scholars and Pharisees are competent teachers in the law. You won't go wrong in following their teachings, but do not do as they do, because they do not practice what they teach. They tie spiritual sustenance up into heavy burdens and bundles of rules and lay them on the shoulders of others, but they themselves are unwilling to lift a finger to move them. They do all their deeds to be seen by others. Embroidered prayer shawls one day and flowery prayers the next. They love to sit at the head table at receptions, basking in the most prominent positions, preening in the radiance of the public flattery, all too pleased with being called doctor or rabbi or reverend. Ouch. Don't let that happen to you. Rather, think of yourselves as perpetual students. If you want to stand out, then step down from the stage. The greatest among you will be like a servant. All who exalt themselves will be humbled, and all who humble themselves will be exalted. If you're content to simply be yourself, your life will count for plenty. These are the words from the Jesus tradition of the first century.
From that scandalous story to another one, here's the story of a man who had performed so many acts with humility that his city council decided to honor him with a medallion. And a week after the award ceremony, the medal had to be withdrawn because, much to the embarrassment of the council, the man had brashly worn the medallion everywhere he went. That's an old joke, I'm sorry. Our spiritual tradition gives us some interesting images on humility. The whole reversal of conventional wisdom. I've used the image of a Uno card because it feels like Jesus was playing that every second conversation he had. First will be last, last will be first. The humble will be exalted. The hungry will be filled with good things. The rich sent away empty. We have stories of Jesus choosing to wash the feet of his friends, something one would expect a student to do for their teacher, not the other way around. But in typical fashion, he reverses the expectations and lives out an example of what it means to lead by serving. That we're reminded in the Jesus tradition that those who have taken their religious tradition to the point that it becomes a show are no longer about authentic living or a life lived with integrity. It's become about what it looks like from the outside. It's wisdom that helps us ask in what ways we're after a medal for our humility. And it also asks us to ponder the ways we place ourselves at the center of attention, not just with a sense of spiritual superiority, which I do on occasion feel, I must admit. There are times when all of us are thinking, the way we're doing spirituality must be the right way. We feel pretty good about what we're doing here, don't we? We do this, though, with our money, with how we spend our time, with what we do, with what we say. We all at times exhibit signs of centering ourselves. And I don't mean centered as in Om. I mean putting the spotlight on ourselves. I've come up with just a few things we do. By we, you can say me. That's fine. Things I do. Acting defensively or defending our right to focus on outcomes that have the best result for my purposes. Being dismissive of other people's priorities in favor of our own. Not listening to alternative options and remaining set on achieving what we want. Finding it frustrating when things don't go our way. Oh, really? Yeah. Making our successes or struggles the center of conversations. Oh, do you know, we do like to be selfish conversationally. There are times at my worst moments when I'm thinking, now you're never going to talk to me again after this, but you know that feeling when someone's talking to you and you're thinking, oh, I have a great thing to say, I'm going to say this. We are great at wanting to one-up the storytelling game so that our experiences take over. Similarly, though, it's good and fine to be proud of our actions, but what happens when the results of our helpfulness become the motivation? Yikes. Wanting someone, even subtly, wanting others to notice how helpful we're being. Our helpfulness can equally be a move to assert or maintain our power. I bet you don't think of this when you're offering to help someone, but there are some things going on in our subconscious at times that we're saying to ourselves, by helping you, I am reinforcing the fact that you need my help. Ouch. Spiritual stories do tend to point the lens of our attention toward ourselves. This is what they are designed to do. That's why they're not just idle tales. They're not just bedtime stories, but they are spiritual stories that turn the attention to us. Are we the center of the universes we create? Moving ourselves out of the center, which one could define as humility, moving ourselves out of the center means finding somehow intrinsic, internal rewards for doing what we do because it's right, or because it's consistent with our values, or because it's how we want to live, not because of whatever is going to come to us as a result. Attention, gratitude, beholdenness. Moving ourselves out of the center means listening, not with an ear toward what you'll say next, what anecdote we might add when there's a chance, but to listen and care what others are saying in order to center them. Again, speaking personally, as a person from the dominant culture all my life, I recognize the privilege that me and most of us have of living life at the center by no bloody action of my own, without doing anything to deserve it other than being born in a time and a place and a family and a culture that I was. How do I use that then? How do I use that privilege, that spotlight, that centering, to take a step to the side in order to center others? How do I use my voice, which others will listen to, just by the nature of who we are? How do I use that to center others' experiences, raise awareness, amplify voices that have been silenced? If I step out of the center, it means I point to the person who needs to be heard. Humility, like all values and all these teachings, is an exercise in community. It's not a solo effort, but a group one. And why, perhaps, the teaching of humility is represented by the wolf. The wolf is strong and powerful alone, but finds its greatest strength when part of a pack. If we're tempted to define humility as denying ourselves, that old, tired thing in religion, in Christianity, about denying ourselves and our wants, our needs, or equally if we define it as thinking less of ourselves, like, woe is me, no, I'm not worthy, putting ourselves down so that we might put others up. That's not a useful definition of humility. We're not either worthy or not. We're not fully good or fully bad. We're not light or dark. We are all these things. We are both in need of encouragement and have encouragement to offer. More like a balance of life, a prioritization of where I fit in. Sometimes I can be last so that others can be first. Other times, I need to be first so that I can help others. It's like this old instruction, right, that becomes a bit of a self-care motto. If you're not breathing, you can't be much help to the person next to you. It's this way with our health, with our energy, with our motivation. We need to be alive and healthy to be helpful. We need to have strength in ourselves in order to give that strength to others when they need it. I know we're not doing the Stardust Wisdom of the Universe series anymore, but just a tiny little callback, if I may. We humans are both insignificant and powerful at the same time. Our own lives are brief and uneventful compared to the whole sweep of the cosmic story. I mean, a blip, barely a grain of sand in the whole long story of the universe. And yet, if you think about the smallest subatomic particles and the large and vast galaxies at the edges of an expanding universe, humans, you, me, are really exactly mid-size. We are living at the exact right time on the perfectly tuned planet for us to make a contribution to the universe. We are not the tiniest, and we are not the largest. This is how we fit. This cosmic perspective offers purpose, midway between humility and responsibility. Humility because we're such newbies to this whole universal endeavor, and responsibility because we have the ability to shape our time and our future. There's a Jewish tradition that teaches that everyone should have 2 pockets in their coat or their pants with a note in each pocket. And one note should say, "You are made of the earth. You're but a speck of dust." And one should say, "All the universe exists in you." And keep both in your pockets and take out whichever one you need to be reminded of. When you're feeling self-important, pull out the note that says, "You're made of the earth. Life is larger than you and will continue on, like it or not, with or without you." And when you're feeling powerless, pull out the note that says, "All the universe exists in you. You are the one the world has been waiting for. You can make a difference. You're here to let your light shine and liberate others to do the same." There's wisdom in knowing that you have both notes on you at all times. Okay, I'm just as a way to close up here. C.S. Lewis, who I don't quote very often, but C.S. Lewis had some interesting things to say. This comes from his writing in Mere Christianity. "It is because I wanted to be the big noise at the party that I am so annoyed at someone else being the big noise. Pride gets no pleasure out of having something, only out of having more of it than the next person. We say that people are proud of being rich or clever or good-looking, but they're not. They are proud of being richer or cleverer or better-looking than others. If everyone else became equally rich or clever or good-looking, there'd be nothing to be proud about. It's the comparison that makes you proud, the pleasure of being above the rest. Once the element of competition has gone, pride has gone, and humility has come." Competition is a real tough one in the search for humility. Comparisons are everywhere. In our digital age, where the average person is exposed to somewhere between 500 and 800 marketing messages a day, we're constantly asked to compare. How does what you currently own compare to what is offered as the newest? How about your toothpaste? How about the speed of your Wi-Fi? How about your hairstyle? And now I know I'm just complaining, but I just say a word in my house now, like new shoes. And suddenly, every device has ads for new shoes. I should turn that microphone off more often. Even if we're only consciously aware of a fraction of those marketing messages, it's a challenge to live a comparison-free existence. To avoid putting the ER at the end of words, as C.S. Lewis would suggest, that we think about not being richer, smarter, faster than our neighbor. We're all valuable, we're all different. I value myself and others. My worth doesn't depend on its value compared to anyone else or anything. This panel on our wall over there, painted by Arthur Gallant, recognizes that to be humble is to be strong. To be humble is to be strong. It requires more character and more inner strength to be humble than to raise ourselves up in better, faster, smarter. This idea also reminds us that to be humble isn't weakness, which is why all these teachings in our tradition, in the 7 sacred teaching traditions, are so countercultural even today. To move yourself out of the spotlight isn't weakness, but inner strength. Think of the strength needed to do these things that move us out of the circle, to practice gratitude, to accept our flaws, to honor and help others, to do our best not to compare, but to ensure others have what they need. May we see our strength in relationship to all, in balance with all, working for the good of others. Remember, we're just the right size to do it. So let's take time today to consider where we've been in the center and where we don't need to stay there anymore. How we can better balance our own needs with the needs of others. Not as competition, but to take pleasure in communal effort, in deflecting to where it's most deserved, recognizing the strength of living in life's light together as one of the pack. May it be so.
Will you join with me now as we strengthen our intentions? We come with thanksgiving for our very breath, the warmth of the sun and the sustaining waters, for life all around us, the plants, soft grasses, and sheltering trees, for the ones that crawl, those that swim, and those that fly, for the four-legged and the two-legged, all our relations. We celebrate the diversity in creation as reflected in the four winds from the four directions. We especially honor the many peoples with their many gifts for understanding our shared life on the earth. We strive to live out the 7 sacred teachings: respect, love, honesty, courage, humility, wisdom, and truth. These teachings enable us to live in harmony with ourselves, with our neighbors, and all the created earth. And now let us join together in singing, "We Will Show Our Humanity with Love."
So indeed, let's go with love, with humility, with a sense of purpose and light as we share it wherever we go. Thank you, Sheila.